video, we're actually going to walk through the process on how do you convert a complex design into a page layout. So let's just go back to what we've been taking a look at, working on in the past few videos. Basically, we have this job results that's showing all the job postings, and we talked about scopes and all this other good stuff. And right now we're just using a temporary design to hold those search results. But from our design package, the designers actually created this jobs .html, which is going to be like the result set of those jobs postings. So let's take a look at those. So this page here has the result set of the job postings with paging. Then we have the sidebar and all this other good stuff. So now what we need to do is chop this up into a page layout. And I would say this is somewhat of a medium to complex design layout that we need to replicate. So let's just take a quicker look at this. So if we look at this in, I think I have it here already in Edge, only because now I have editing tools. I can do this right here in the browser. It's a really cool feature. So if we look at this design, and based on our structure that we have set up so far, we actually have this as part as our master page. So that's not going away. And then we have this guy here as part as our footer. So there's nothing special we need to do with that. So really we just have to handle the meat. Now if we look at this particular page, the particular design here, this component here will be part of the page layout. So we're going to make that part of the layout. We're also going to make this part of the layout and these chunks here. And I think we want to deal with these in chunks, right? So, you got your latest jobs, you have your image rotating banner here, and then everything else in the middle will just kind of be our result page here. So all of this, even the paging, is going to be part of that result page. So, so all of this middle piece here is going to be a result. And really, that's how we want to chunk it out. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So if we take a look at this guy in Visual Studio, let me kind of close all these other pieces here. Right, and let's collapse all of the noise, right, or I guess all of the HTML that's around this. Now, again, this is from our design package. We've already went through here and stamped out the shell that's in the master page, right? So we don't have to go through that again. So this top nav, that's going to be the top navigation. And then we have the header. That's going to be part of the header piece. And then right here where it says job start. And that's a cool thing. Like if your designer is really, really good, they will use comments to kind of highlight the different segments of the code. So this is going to be our header. This is a mixed bag. So we got the header, and then we also have the breadcrumb, right? So if we kind of bounce back into this guy. So you got the header, then you have the breadcrumb. So let's go ahead and chunk that piece out. And what I want to do, as we kind of walking through this, we're going to just take out chunks, right? And we're going to start creating our templates. And if you're looking at the structure of our project, we have the master page gallery here. So only thing we keep in there are layouts and master page. The master page is only one. And then in the style library, we kind of have like all the other design pieces. But right here in the templates, this is where we do our Angularjs templates. So let's just go ahead and create one. And we'll just call this guy global breadcrumb. Because this is that breadcrumb is used on a lot of different pages. So we just do select all and then we just paste this in. Now, when we do this, the one thing that we do want to be careful of is that we want this to be reused, right? So we want this breadcrumb to be reused in as many different instances as possible, because the HTML and behind the scenes code to bring in the breadcrumb dynamically is just a reusable component. Now, but the CSS class is something that the caller should be controlling, because they may want it to look a little bit different depending on how they want to apply this. So in order for them to pass in the CSS class, we actually want to bring that in as an attribute, and we're just going to go with CSS class here. Okay, So that's going to be a repeat thing. All right, so this is all taken care of. So let's go ahead and put a bookmark here. I just do Control KK, and that's going to bookmark this segment here. So we have this done. Now we just go down, and now we have this other chunk. So I want to collapse this. The footer is part of our master page. So the footer and below is part of our master page. So we're not concerned with that. Now we have this job, we have this container, and then we have a grid system here, and then we have a grid system here. So if I highlight this grid system is this is the filtering component here, right? And this is the container, that filtering component. Is that right? Yeah, keywords and categories and all this other good stuff. So if we bounce back here, that's going to be this component here. So there's a grid system within this container that's defining those columns. So from a page layout perspective, we want to grab it right here at the gray, and then in the Angular template, have that dynamically load this up based on the search results or some other type of result set, right? So now we have this. So really, what you wanted to grab this chunk here and make that our search filter. So let's go down to templates, add this in. I'm going to prefix everything here as with search, and then we do search filter. Click OK, select all of this, and then the same deal applies. We want them to pass in this grid system for the overall container, right? Because, you know, depending on the page layout, depending on the scenario where they call this, they may want to either have it take up the entire space or maybe be collapsed in a single space or what have you. So from a bootstrapping standpoint, we want them to still be able to control that grid system by passing in the right class. All right, so that's done. Let's just bookmark this guy here. Control KK. And then we get down to the second row. Again, anything that's going to be rows or columns or anything like that, we want all that to be controlled by the page layout or the caller. So we have left, and then we have left side. So what's this? This feature candidate. Okay, so this is the feature candidate section, which is this right here. And then you have this rotator that's going, oops, let me kill all this. Then you have this rotator. Nope, we don't want to save changes. That kind of goes through, right? So you have all those lined up at the bottom here. That's what all these repeatable sections are in the item. So we want to grab this guy. If I collapse all of this, we want to grab this guy here. So this is our template. So that's going to be feature candidate. And ideally, this can be reused anywhere. I think for our intents and purposes, we're still going to prefix this as search. We're definitely not going to lock it down as search, but I think I want to prefix this as search just so that all my changes are kind of grouped together. Yeah, okay, featured candidates. All right, so just go here, select all, paste that in. And then again, we want them to pass in the class name for their overall container. All right, and go back and then put a bookmark here. And what these bookmarks are going to do, like now when we go back and remove all of these snippets and replace them with our Angular component names or tags or custom tags, we would know exactly where those need to be placed. The other one is going to be left side. This is the latest jobs, right? So left side is something that the overall grid system is using to identify its placement. But you know, we want to take this chunk here and encapsulate that within the Angular template. So I think we just grab it here, left side, copy all of that. And what is this? This is featured jobs, right? So let's just here again, this arguably can be reused everywhere, but I'm gonna just prefix it as search. So search featured jobs. I probably should do something like left side features jobs or featured jobs sidebar or something like that. But that's the thing. We can go back and forth with these names. They said that the hardest. Someone said that it was a quote that the hardest thing that developers have to do is naming variables. So that's true, because we try to anticipate so much and try to be as abstract and as generic as possible. Because if the intent changes, we don't want our variables to be hinged on an old intent. So if you keep it abstract, that would be ideal. So we're kind of losing in that regard in this video, but we'll keep going. All right, so the last one is the images. Again, this is for careers, and that's only for this system here where this makes sense. But we're still going to grab this HTML stack. Will allow them to pass that career class in, and I think we'll still be okay. So this one I will make global. So let's just make global and just call this image rotator. All right. Replace all of this. Same deal. Go ahead and do our vm.css class. Save that off. And let's go back here to, let's close everything but this. All right, so that's that. Let's go ahead and put a bookmark there. And now I think we're finally down to the search results. Is that right? Where are these buttons? Let's take a look at our, where are the buttons? So that's the image. So once we get out of the image, we should be in this container here. Oh, this is just a button for each one of those job postings, right? So, so this product box is going to be, so really it's this div here that represents each one of those result sets, right? So then we go down. All right, so just go down, collapse all of these. All right, so all of these are going to be the job postings, right, in the result set. And this is going to be our pager within the result set. So basically, we're just going to grab this entire div here and make that our result set template. Search job results. And that should be that. And then again, just do our VM CSS class guy. So that way we still have the most flexibility when dealing with this, and we're not locking them in with an overall class container. All right. So now we go here and then bookmark this guy. And I think that's it. All right. So now that that's done, what we want to do is come in here and just start dropping in our custom tags. So this is the breadcrumb. And we're making these names up, by the way. Okay. And with the breadcrumb that comes in, it's going to pass that guy in there. Oops, I hate when that happens because it distorts my closing tag when I do that. All right. But the variable that we're looking for is called CSS class. That's the attribute name that we're using, right? So CSS class, and we talked about the casing about that and how that's replaced with snake casing. That's just an Angular guy, Angularism. So once we kind of get this JP breadcrumb in there, we pass in the same class that this UL used to have. We can go ahead and delete this snippet. And what I'm doing now, I still understand that I am in the design package, but what I'm doing now, I'm prepping this up to for my page layout. So the HTML that I'm creating now is going to be a lift and shift into my page layout. All right, so here's another guy. So what was this guy? Is this a search filter? Yep. So this is search filter. We grabbed it here. Let's just make this up. JP search filter. This time I'll put a space in there before I drag this guy over. And then do a CSS class there. And then go ahead and delete this snippet. So once we replace it, we'll go ahead and delete it. So now we want to do left. We didn't grab it here, but we grabbed it here. And this is our feature candidate. So here, JP featured candidates, right? Put your space in there, put your left in there, and then give it the correct name. All right, so I'm gonna just actually hyperspeed this through because it's the exact same process going all the way through. So let's just go ahead and speed through this. Okay, so went ahead and replaced all of those following the same format that you've seen. And this is the result. So basically, we have all of these custom tags created to represent our various components, our Angular components that will be called to do the work for each one of these guys. And for the most part, this looks fine. Now, before we actually create our page layout, because really it's just going to be a lift and shift, there's one thing I do want to point out. This right here, like these two tags, can kind of make someone who comes in after us not clear. So I think these custom tags are clear. But then when you take a div and then compare that with, or couple that with a custom tag to create an overall grid system, it seems kind of odd. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put that back, put that div back in there. Go ahead and put this class name back in there under the div. Oh, I did it again. Space it. Oops. That's too much. What all did you copy? All right, so hold on. Let's fix this back. All right, so I want to put this div back in there. Again, this is more of a preference thing than anything else. The way we have it set up, it should work, but just to kind of make sure things are uniform, especially from a grid system perspective, anyone that's coming in behind us is going to expect these two divs to be compliant, right? Because they're defining the overall shell. And now let's just go ahead and remove this, and we can do something generic like search results, just so that it has a class, and if we need to hook into that, that should be fine. So now this kind of looks uniform. It kind of looks compliant. Where there's no major concerns so far. You can probably make the same argument with this tag here, to where maybe you should have a containing div with that class, because it does define the grid system. But I'm not going to change that. I'm okay with keeping that one there. Again, this is totally preference. All right, so now let's go. One of the things we're not going to do, we're not going to save this, right? Because we want to get back to our original template from our design package. So all these changes are just made without saving them. And now we want to go in and create our page layout. And if we look at the home page layout, I think this is going to get us close to where we need to be. I think this is going to get us close to where we need to be. So let's just copy this guy. Let me just copy this, paste this in, and then just do some renaming. And we just want to call this JP search. JP search. Yeah, that's fine. Search results. Yeah, let's do that. So JP search results. And let's go inside this guy. And where do we need to be? We need to be, as long as we're under this placeholder main, that's where all of our content is going to go. Let's everything else, the existing grid system and CSS and all this other stuff, we want to work around that. So we just want to pull out our SharePoint components, and basically all we have is a rich text field and then a web part zone. And then let's go ahead and delete all of the other HTML. And then let's put these guys at the bottom. Let's paste in our changes from this job piece here. And again, we're just grabbing that chunk around the header and the footer, since that's going to be part of our layout, and then just paste it in. And basically we're done, right? So a few things that we do want to replace, and that's going to be like the jobs here. that should be the page title. So let's just copy that and then put that in. So now that piece is dynamic. Fix some spacing here. Oops. Did that screw up my enclosed tag for H1? No, it's still intact. Great. All right, so then for this other section here, this is where like the meat of the result set comes in. All of these are going to kind of fall into place, and the question is going to be, where should we put like the HTML component and all this other good stuff. So let's look at this page. So say for example, if they want to put like a blurb here on top of the search results, maybe we put the rich text on that side. And if they want to add in an additional set of web parts, maybe we should put the web part zone underneath the last piece here, right? And obviously we can switch this around. We're just kind of making a gut call here. So let's just move this guy here. So this is my HTML field, and we want to put this guy right above the result set. So let's just drop it here. And you could wrap it in a div, but I think it also produces a div. So I'm gonna hold off on wrapping that with a div. And we don't want to make it too taggy, right? With unnecessary containers. So we'll leave that as is. The minimum height, let's just drop this down to like a 40 or something like that, so it's not too disruptive. And then for the last one, the zone, we're going to put this at the bottom of our image rotator, which is this guy here. So this just gives them a little flexibility. Oh no, we want to put that at the top, right? Top or bottom? Let's do top. All right, a little bit more flexibility on adding additional functionality without getting a developer involved, right? Let's get rid of these extra spaces and bring in this closing tag for our placeholder. And I think that's it. So this we will save off. So let's go ahead and save this all. And now that we've completed everything, what we want to do is make sure we create our components. So what I want to do, I'm going to grab a list of all of the custom tags that we created, just so that I get the naming right for my components. So let's just copy this. And I'm going to drop this in another window so it's easy for me to copy and paste. Search filter. And candidates. And latest jobs, and the image rotator, and search results. Right, so all I did was just drop those in, right? So we have 6 of them. So now what I can do is go into my components, and let's start creating these out with the exact same name. And I'm going to just put these at the very bottom here. And job results is the one that we were testing with in our temporary. So I'm going to just copy this and then paste this in. And we don't want to make any calls as of now. So we want to make sure these components do not make any service calls. And we also want to make sure that we have our CSS class, and that's our custom attribute for sending in the CSS class name. The count, title, and all these other guys. Title usually we need that. So let's just leave that there. And what I'm doing is trying to set this up to where I can copy and paste it from my other 6 components. All right, and then the first one we're going to start with is breadcrumb. Just copy this guy, drop it here. I'm a big fan of copy and paste with JavaScript because it really just saves you with banging your head against the wall trying to figure out why something is not working, just so that it ends up being a typo error, right? It's one of the most frustrating things, right? You spend all that time troubleshooting, trying to figure things out, just to come back to a typo error. So I've learned to copy and paste as much as possible. All right, so JP search filter, That's our copy, right? Just go ahead and put this guy here. And JP search filter, search filter. It's going to be this guy. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me speed up this video. I think you get it, right? All we're doing is just coming in here and creating our components based on this pattern. So let me pause this, and then when this is done, I'll resume it. All right, so I've went ahead and dropped those in. So I think we should be good to go. So just to recap what was done, I just dropped in all 6 of those components, reference their respective Angular template file or HTML file. This is not spelled correctly. Did I not spell that correctly? Late says, okay. Yeah, see, stuff like that would just really just kind of mess you up. All right, so I'm just double checking these real quick. All right, so I think we're good to go. JP breadcrumb, and I think that was the first of the changes. All right, awesome. So let's just save this off. Let's go back to our design template. Let's hit the X, and it's going to ask us to save it. Say no. All right, and we have all our changes now. Let's push it up and see what blows up. So I'm going to push the master page up first. And because this is in a different project, you can't select changes between 2 separate projects for the publish. We learned that a while ago. Why things were not publishing up, even though we had them selected. I'm missing my window. Where's my window to show me how things are going? Anyway, so I just assumed that published up. That's weird though, where I'm missing my window. All right, so that should be up there, and let's just go and start publishing this guy here. So anything that has a green plus sign, that means it was added. A red check mark, that means it was changed. Right click and then publish. This is kind of irritating a little bit. Let's see. Where is my window? Is it object browser? No, output. There's my web publishing. Why are you guys way up here? All right. So this looks good. Let's go in here and see how things work. Make sure we didn't break anything. Just hit refresh, and so far things are intact. We didn't really change anything. So our changes, so we made a bunch of changes, but our changes are not affecting this page because it's not plugged in yet. So the telltale is when we go to the site settings, master page gallery, and we have to wire up our new page layout, right? So JP results. Oh, this is me plan. So this is an old guy. Let me just go ahead and delete that. And I know it's old because I'm looking at the timestamp. So the 5.9 is old. This 5.11 is the one that I want to get wired up. So it's 5.11 here. So let's go ahead and go into edit properties. And you just have to wire this up. Again, this is just like the master page. Once you get it wired up the first time, after any subsequent updates, it'll be fine. So here we have to select that this is a page layout. And once you select that, you get a bunch of other options. I'm gonna just leave this blank for now. And really, from a content type group, you want to go down here and select page layout content types. And right now we're just using article page. We didn't go off and create a custom content type for all our page layouts because most of our page layouts are just containers, right? Ideally, just containers. I'm not going to go into the architecture, design, or decision-making process on how vanilla your page layout should be. But, they definitely should be just really just that, just layouts defining the page, grid system. And then you just kind of reusing that when and where you can. That's how the out-of-the-box SharePoint does it. We're cheating a little bit because what we're doing is that we're going to kind of hyperload our search results layout with all of the quote unquote wet parts that are needed for a search results page, and that's fine. That is really an architecture design and a preference. But you see how we're very vanilla here, like 1 column, 2 column, home page. These two are really meant for content, right? Maybe like, we'll cross those bridges when we get to them, when we start doing like detail pages for postings, detail pages for blog posts and stuff like that, and how those are scenarios where you want to have those hyper loaded with a lot of embedded quote unquote web parts, just because it just makes the creation of those things a lot easier. Like, you don't want to have a page layout for an article page, and on the right rail there's always like the recent articles and then categories for different articles and all that other stuff, and the content manager should be adding those each and every time they create an article. That's ludicrous. So that's a really good example of hyperloading the page. For our search results, I think, we're cheating a little bit. I think there's some CSS class names that are specific to search results that's not reused anywhere else. That's why we have, one of these guys that are being hyperloaded. Okay, that's it for that. We have everything set. Publish major version. This should be good. So now we go here and add a page, and we're going to call this job results. Hit create. And hopefully I didn't lock down the pages to where, I think I did. When we created this, we locked the pages down to only a handful of layouts. Yeah, I did. And then we selected a default. So this is going to create one with the home page. And that's fine. Let's just save this off for now. And then we go into the setting to where we actually add in our page layout. So that's page layout and site templates. Come down to this guy, and this is our new guy here, right? That JP search. Go ahead and drop him over there. And this is going to make those layouts available in that ribbon drop down. So let's go back to that existing page, which is under contents, pages library. Go ahead and select this guy, job results. This is the guy that we just created. And then now I should have my option. Once I go into edit mode, I should have my option to select JP results. And this is going to give us all the custom things that we have created. And look at that. We came in, we have a bunch of missing images, but that's okay. That's okay. We're winning. Once we make this dynamic, this is going to look fantastic. So let's go ahead and publish this up. I'm actually pretty excited because what I do, I preload a lot of this. I preload a lot of these courses on the side just so that I walk through the steps and I know what to expect, and I'm not surprised when I do the recording. But this is the step I didn't do on my preload. So when I saw that this worked without a hitch, I was actually surprised because I wasn't expecting it. You always expect issues, right? So, okay, so now we're loaded. And if we compare this, let me just go back to our design package and see where our gaps are. Oh, no, I don't have to go that far. I think I still have it open here. All right, so for the most part, I mean, if you kind of flip-flop in between these two, this is our guy, right? And this is the design package. I see some spacing here, so there's some extra spacing here. We probably want to chase that down. I don't think it's a huge thing, but that's, if we want this pixel perfect, that's one of the things that you probably want to go chase down. The filtering, that looks good. The feature candidate, that's missing images, but that's because the images referenced are not referencing our style library. So, and we know how to fix that, right? So we'll go through that in the next time. Our grid system looks good, but we're just missing images, right? So we don't have our placeholder image. We're missing that. And the latest jobs on the left looks good. And then our paging at the bottom looks great. And that's our image banner because it doesn't have the placeholder. It doesn't look as great, but it's positioned exactly where it needs to be. Okay. And the cool thing about it is that, remember, we have that the zone, and we also have the HTML field in tag. right? They're positioned, but you're only going to see those in edit mode if they're empty. Ideally, they don't take up space. But here, if we just go ahead and load this in, and then let's go ahead and drop in the web part. Let's just drop in. I'm trying to do something not too crazy. Content editor web part. And then here, you know, you can, now they have an option to put in additional text, right? New capabilities here without having to get a SharePoint developer involved. And that's why we did that. So now they can add, you know, obviously we can change the Chrome to hide that title and all this other good stuff. But now they can add, you know, additional text or functionality around this stuff without getting a developer involved. They may come back and say, hey, we need that same deal at the end of both of those columns. So you just, you know, create another zone, drop it to the end, create another zone here, or I would say zone, right? Because when you start adding different page fields, if you're busting out of the bounds of the article content type, which is the one that we're using, then you have to go back and manipulate that and potentially create a custom content type. So that simple decision to do, you know, to add in an additional field or a web part zone has a ripple effect. And just understanding, you know, both sides of that coin makes sense. And it's the same capabilities, right? Because that's why I kind of love the HTML fields, because you can insert web parts right here, right? So if I want to put in the content editor web part, which probably doesn't make sense because everything the content editor can do, the publishing field can do. But, you know, just for giggles and kicks, I can add in this web part right here and add in additional text. And I really love this because now what I can do, I can go above this, right, and start wrapping text and content around my web part. So from a layout perspective, that gives you a lot of flexibility because, you know, now I can display a listing of documents, put a paragraph or an image above that document view web part, or, you know, some content or text underneath it, and really have full control over my design. So, all right, so that's it for this video. Obviously, we're missing images, but the core piece of that is in place. Oh, yeah. So here's our job results. So now, because we edit this guy, right, we can go here to page properties and modify the title of our page, which is this guy here, and just do job search results. And now they have, you know, it's not hard coded as job results, and now they have full control over that text. So a lot of flexibility there, a lot of cool things when you leveraging page layouts. But now it's hyper loaded. We have all the content that's in there. That's it for this video. I'll check you out in the next video where we actually clean this up a bit, get this looking to where it should be looking, and then add some functionality behind all those Angular components that we dropped in. All right, take care, and I'll see you in the comments.